We were supposed to vote, the Kenyans in diaspora, but the last minute our government said they don't have enough funding. So what we actually decided is we pull all our Kenyans together living in Johannesburg or South Africa at large to come together, watch our election as our people vote back at home, and pray and just celebrate together as one people.
Surely whoever will win, I'm for them, I'm for whoever will win, because I know life in Kenya will change after this election. Today is a day that we need to know exactly that we are Kenyans.
I hope it will be a peaceful election, and I hope everybody will be given a chance to vote. And what we are praying, that God do His will, like to give us the leader that He Himself wants, not that, and let the people decide.
I believe we just need peace in Kenya, like how we had the 2007 by-elections and whatever happened after that. Whatever we are praying is that the peace will prevail. We don't have any preferred candidate because we don't have votes anyway. So whatever the will of the people, we shall respect.
Just hoping that peace prevails and that they do accept whatever the outcome is. Because I know there are two main contenders and it's a tough one. But I hope that whoever wins, everyone gonna accept.
In fact, what the most thing that the youth need back at home, they need a leader who can lead them. At least they can have at least a job. Because you see, even us to come to South Africa, we were coming here just to look for a green pastures.
It has divided so many Kenyans, and I think, according to me, I think we are one country. We should not vote on tribal lines, because if we do like that, after the elections, what about the losers? Where will they go? Because they have to stay in the same country. So when we vote on tribal lines, we are dividing the country, which is not good.
I think the Kenyans need decisiveness, they need peace. I don't think the Kenyans are really too concerned about who wins and who loses. I think they want to move forward as a nation. They want a leader who's been democratically elected, and I think they want to get about nation building. We've got lots of work to do. I mean, Kenya's been endowed with natural resources now, with oil, etc. The industries are growing, and I think there's lots of potential for the GDP to actually grow in leaps and bounds, and the economy to grow at double-digit growth.
All right, those are just some of the comments from Kenyans that are living in South Africa. And as mentioned, we are joined now by Andrew Samoa, senior researcher from the Institute for Security Studies. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you.
I think what's important, and let's just put it in perspective, why are these elections so important for us South Africans to be following?
It's important, for South Africa, because if you look at Kenya, Kenya is an economic power in the Eastern Africa region. Apart from the strength that Kenya has as a country, a number of countries that are landlocked in that region depends on Kenya. We saw that in the last post-election violence, countries like Uganda suffered a lot because they couldn't get access to the sea and to the port. So what it means is that if Kenya goes down, Kenya will go down with a number of countries economically. Again, Kenya plays a huge role when it comes to, the security destiny of the region. So without Kenya, a lot of things can go wrong. So it's important for the region, and the region matters also to South Africa. As much as, everything that happens there, South Africa also being a big brother on the African continent, will be concerned in a way. South Africa also has trade, interests, economic interests in Kenya, and all of that will be at stake if something goes wrong. So it's important for Kenyans as well as for South Africa, in addition to other countries in Africa.
All right. Now, let's talk about Kenya and what's happening there. Why is it that Kenya has had so much tension between tribes? Where does this actually come from?
There are deep-seated, if you go to the construction of the African state, you realize that many of the tribes and ethnic groups that we have within many of the states had nothing to do with each other before the, colonialism. And therefore, many African ethnic groups were forced into states, and the states were constructed around, territories rather than, the bonding between the individual ethnic groups that existed. Kenya has a similar history. Apart from that, since independence, certain individuals and certain political affiliations and the choices that have followed have been connected to certain ethnic groups. So you have inherent tensions around land distribution, land ownership, and a lot of things, and what many Kenyans call historical injustices that are existing between different ethnic groups. So what we then realize is that any political, issue has an ethnic lens as well, and that makes it a bit more of ethnic politics in a sense, and therefore raises the stakes in any political debate. Let's look at our contenders, Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta. What are their chances of each winning the presidency? At the moment, I expect that, as many opinion polls have indicated, it's going to be a neck-and-neck run. It's going to be a closely contested election, which will be extremely difficult to call. We are seeing that the initial results that are trickling in put Uhuru Kenyatta ahead. We are not too sure whether it's going to be easy for him, as we are seeing in the initial results. But what is just going to play out is that the two candidates, any of them stands the chance. I do not want to use the ethnic, variable as the basis for making a prediction, because, the Kenyan political landscape is getting increasingly very complex, particularly within the middle class, and you cannot be sure. What we know is that Uhuru Kenyatta initially was trailing behind Raila Odinga in earlier opinion polls, but after the presidential debate, Uhuru Kenyatta, together with the rallies that he's had, his strength in politicking and the money that he had behind him, has been able to win quite some confidence across the country. Yeah. So it's going to be an extremely closely contested election, which we need to watch. What about Kenyatta's charges that he's facing? I mean, what do you make of these? His charges, in my view, raises the stakes for him, in the sense that if he wins the elections, he stands the chance of wielding or actually, wielding sovereignty and then enjoying some of the benefits that come with sovereignty and being the commander-in-chief of Kenya's army. What then means is that we'll be going for something similar to the situation that we have in our hands regarding the President al-Bashir of Sudan's issue. The positive thing is that he's indicated that he will still continue to cooperate with the ICC. That is positive. But that said, there will be a lot of questions raised around whether Kenya's development partners will continue to engage with the country, regardless of the fact that the president and his vice will be standing trials at the ICC. It will raise a lot of very complex issues, and if care is not taken, that can push Kenya into a pariah kind of state within the Committee of Nations. Andrew, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you very much for talking to us. Andrew Samoa is from the Institute for Security Studies. He's a senior researcher there talking to us about Kenya's elections.